Oh god, how long have I been asleep? Hey everyone, welcome back to more Limbus Company. I'm SlayerMathis, and last time we finished up the collab event. So you can really tell how far it's been since I last recorded. The joys of mental health. But yeah, we're just gonna hop right back into some actual story stuff. But as you can see on here, we are on to Season 7 now. Yeah. Lots of stuff. Very far behind. It's going great. Yeah. That said, we still have plenty of stuff that we can do, so... Ooh, actually... I could. Yeah, missed out on a lot of those, but also, like, really? Of these, like, these three are pretty nice. Tradition Blade of Hung Yuan is pretty decent, but, like, the other ones, I'm fine with missing out on mostly, but whatever. Just give me a moment. Alright, I just ended up getting the Settler Supplies pack. That'll be my only purchase on this one. Maybe a little bit too extreme to do that, but oh well. We'll, of course, get the Limbus Pass. Grab everything from that. Gets us a bunch of stuff. And we're gonna pull for this Don Quixote banner. Of course, with some of these new units, there's a lot that I haven't tried too much yet. I have played around a little bit with the Don Quixote, but not terribly much. I am recording this the day it released, so recording it on same day that Part 2 of Ryoshi's Kanto dropped, so January the 7th. I'm gonna hope to get it. I mean, obviously if you couldn't tell from the collab event, I've had some pretty good luck usually, but my pulls have been pretty bad of late, which is a shame, but oh well, what can you do? So we have, what, 2 more, I think? Just the 1 more for right now. Oh shit, actually, hold up. We also get the daily packs. Alright, now we're actually good. And shame. Nothing new, which is disappointing, but oh well. It is what it is. I'm not too worried about it on here. We'll pop on to the 6th Walpurgisnacht, 5th Walpurgisnacht. God, I feel it sounds weird. Enter the book of the Church of Gears. Dun dun dun. This seems like a good place to end it, Dante. Alright. I do consultations with the sinners when there's a need to do so, but I also invite them for regular consultations as well, regardless of the necessity. Our conversations were usually pretty inane and somewhat perfunctory to the point where I feel like I'm just going down a list of things to say, asking obvious questions like, how are you doing? Are you dealing with any difficult emotions or other queries of similar nature? Which mean that most of our consultations end up being idle chatter, but we're good here, right? Faust believes so, yes. Your continual growth has been observed throughout the repeated consultations, and no changes for the worse or problems with your tenure as manager have been found. It's good. Faust was always the last center on my consultation list. Whenever I finished consulting her, she would have me participate in her consultation in turn. These are rather valuable opportunities for me, given that they're pretty much the only times I ever get to voice my concerns without hesitation, not to mention that there are also chances to try to brainstorm how we'll go about resolving them. Do you have any further questions? As I was listening to Faust, sitting across from her and cleaning up the documents laid out on my desk, a calendar came into view. It's happening pretty soon, isn't it? By it, you're referring to the Walpurgisnacht. I feel like it's about time it happened again. been happening pretty frequently of late, to the point where they're occurring once every few days. I don't know how rare this event really is, but I'm starting to develop some sort of intuition as to how often it comes. You seem to have found yourself a pattern of sorts, Dante. However, the basis by which the Walpurgisnacht occur is pure chance. There are no rules that dictate their frequency. Really? But I just have this feeling and intuition that it's about to happen, you know? Faust has come to understand that your feelings, Dante, may sometimes yield exceptional results that elude any sort of logical or sensible explanations. However, to find patterns in which there are none is... Faust had just begun her explanation with a barely noticeable grin when she was prematurely cut off by the all-too-familiar alarm and the accompanying light show of green flashes. You were saying, Faust? It's always a pleasant surprise to encounter such uncertainties. You don't look pleased at all, though. Let us head to the driver's seat. And with that, she hurriedly stormed out of my room. Sometime later, this is one weird place, huh? Some kind of prison? It smells dank. I think we might be underground. So I wonder if we get to visit L Corp headquarters again. I'm pretty sure that's what we'll be going on our next Walpurgisnacht. How do you know that? Doesn't it seem like they're taking turns to appear? The patterns were telling me that this time we're inside a book at the library, I think. Any thoughts, Faust? As I've stated earlier, the basis by which the Walpurgisnacht occurs appear... I'll get blathered on about. Quit going off on tangents and answer the question straight, yeah? Always, for the sake of efficiency, immediately to succinctly explicate your point when replying to your superior's questions. Understood? Indeed. This event seems to take place at a period of time when the library existed. However, it does not seem to be the case that we'll be facing abnormalities here as we had done so in the past. Well, shh! Voices close. With one hush, I could hear voices muttering from a distant hallway. It seems that this place is a place of congregation for an emergent religious group once known as the Church of Gears. The Church of Gears? So do they worship literal gears? Or is it more symbolic, like they're worshipping the sacred values of labor or something? Excuse me. Faust gazed into the distance a few times and continued as though she realized something. Not exactly. They consider themselves, as denizens of the city, nothing more than gears. Their belief is that their misfortunes stem from the fact that their current lot in life has placed them where they do not belong. Such was Faust's input. Is she getting all this from the Gestalt shop she mentioned before? Must be too off the mark then. Many people in the city just have jobs they're not fit for. Perhaps so. However, do understand that the laity of this religion, dubbed meat gears, install their objects of worship known as thought gears, gears made from humans to their own brains, and... Okay, point taken, you can stop now. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking. Of course there's another bunch of crazies. Roja brought her hand to her mouth as though she was about to vomit, then shook her head dismissively. Anyways, what are we supposed to be doing here? Are you kill him? It isn't certain where the end of this scenario lies. However, as the report's course of action has often led us to solutions, it would likely not be much different this time. Please, a moment. What is this scenario I've mentioned in passing? Not that too. It is only a hypothesis of sorts, at the moment. However, please recall the past manifestations of phenomenon which we, once the goal determined by this scenario was deemed complete, or immediately returned to the bus's corridors. And given that the beginning and resolution of our was identical, as though the scenarios were setting from cycle to cycle, it can be surmised that we are repeating the same scenario. There are other rooms at the back door with similar attributes. Given that they also consist of rooms that repeat certain scenarios until a certain objective is completed, it can be said that the prospect of this hypothesis turning out to be correct is not entirely out of the realm of possibility when it comes to technological limitations. In recollection, as you say, I found there were instances in which we were invariably made to reach the same conclusion, regardless of the specifics of our methodologies in battle. Ah, verily, hast thou not said before, young Faust, that our actions, taken within the bounds of reality as manifested by the powers of Walpurgisnacht, were indeed events of the past, yet manipulated not the history of the world or wherein we do exist? Correct. That is another evidence for the hypothesis that these are but scenarios. So, even if we were to kill these worshippers, they're not actually, dying, right? Still carrying that soft heart, aren't you? But it just doesn't seem right. Attacking people who speak just like we do without really getting to know what's going on seems, the intent behind your question is understood. Yes, you are correct. Testing, your copy. An unfamiliar voice suddenly whispered in our ear. Who is this? When we have these things in our ears. The sinners were all equipped with something resembling transmitters in their ears. What the shit? Hey, we'll show you guys. It's me, Stefan. Wake up! We gave you a subcontract because you were supposedly much better at blitzes like these. You made quite the fuss when we were handing it over to you, right? Come on, let's do our job and go home, okay? There's another tantrum on how we're taking 6% of the reward. I see. This appears to be our role in the scenario. We all know the Church of Gears is one big nut job fashion, but don't let the ickiness get in the way of the mission. Got that? Got the straight from Director Eugene of the She Academy Section 2. You have to capture their leader alive. If you screw this job up, you can all say goodbye to that payday we've been looking forward to, so I'm leaving it to you, okay? What does this leader look like? Holy shit, are you insane? You need to read the documents we sent before going in there? Okay, I guess they really did infiltrate the base without even reading the intel. Maybe there's veterans who really are that good. Deny the title of a veteran. Oh, well, you'll know the moment you lay eyes on the leader. Veiled face, huge gears in her head and all that. And there's the appropriate amount of intelligence to identify this target. Great, then let's do this. I had to remember for a moment who which one Stefan was. Of course, this is very Library of Ruina. In particular, this is a... It's not Star of... Is this Star of the City? No, this is Urban Nightmare, I believe. I forget exactly which level. Yeah, I think it's Urban Nightmare. But Star of the City, an Urban Nightmare group. The big thing is the smoke passive. They do extra damage on people with smoke, take extra damage, yada yada yada. Smoke was a really interesting concept in Ruina, because it was used by two groups. It was the Church of Gears, as well as the Smiling Faces, whose Smiling Faces were a bunch of weirdos who had oddly Scottish accents, or they were localized to be Scottish. Yeah, I would say Scottish. Which sure is a choice, but yeah. They had some pretty strong cards, too. If you were specifically going for the... Like, Smoke, again, it was a very niche archetype, but a very solid one as well. Had some very good cards in it. They kind of referenced one with... I'll look at their skills again. Just a moment. Be these guys, I think. Was it Evade Order? I think it was Evade Order. They have it here as a 4+10. I think it was like a... The thing with the smoke cards also, by the way, the Gear Fanatics were different. It was all only the Gear Worshippers that they had. But for this, or for Ruina, a lot of the cards were very high risk, high reward. You had a lot of wide ranges of rolls. Ruina being the game before this. Ruina plays relatively similarly to Limbus. Rather than coins, each skill had a dice amount. So you would have certain dice amount, and instead of the clash of everything together, it would be each individual coin would clash against itself. So, for example, say we had Traces to Sight and Sound versus Answer Me High Show packs. Almost for sure, the Answer Me High Show packs would win that first roll. It would have a range of, say, 10 to 20, while Traces to Sight and Sound would have like a 4 to 8. However, because there are the more coins, you would instead have, it would roll afterwards, so you would still take a couple more hits after that. Yeah. Better than settling, but I don't give too much trouble, huh? Yeah, I'm hoping to slip on my hands because I had to stop myself from throwing up. Brains and all that blood and chunks of flesh wherever the gears turned and crushed. As advised, the mouth one parts nothing but displeasure, Sinclair. As the sinners, who all appeared rather exhausted from certain non-fatigue-related issues, I saw a shuddering figure. No one must be the leader of this church. Notice, remember, this is a capture mission. Course executive manager. No exceptional technique by which I can when 100% ensure the survival of the subject. Possible defense wounds notwithstanding. Please, leave us alone. Stay away. Just as Elvis began to approach the leader, her face contorted into a terrifying expression. 13 of you, huh? Why, those friends must have spent quite a fortune hiring you all. There was a flash of light, and the blink of an eye, someone kicked Otis to the side and embraced the leader in their arms. Could You'd be the person my father always talked about. I guess. Fine, I cannot well see whom this figure is that such power has to be. Sorry, friends, I do appreciate your welcome, but I'm going to have to leave with this friend here instead. Make way for us, will you? Absolutely not! Artist aggressively strides toward the shadowy intruder. The details were fuzzy and shadowed, but I was pretty sure this figure was holding a massive scythe. What a grand welcome. I'm about to shed a tear. Well then. The intruder begins to raise his scythe, his voice untainted by even a tinge of battle anxiety. Huh? Now we find ourselves back at the corridors. It seems that this is where the scenario ends. Damn it, what indignity! Nay, young Otis, 'tis not to be humiliated of. Well, I'm not entirely confident of the speculation, for I was availed not else save for the silhouettes, that strength, that composure. For that silhouette of this foe! I am born witness to this magnificence surpassed in the magazines! A color! Thousands was engaged in with a color fixer! Your memories clearly hasn't diminished your love of fixtures one bit, huh? Silence! 'Tis irrelevant. Anyhow, young Faust, thou hast said in the past that a repeated visit would be to benefit as long as this night is in effect, forsooth. Forsooth! Indeed. Well, should I be granted the chance to behold the countenance of this figure, I should be of no trouble for I to determine who the illustrious color fixes this one is with this great certainty. May I perchance be granted the opportunity to approach this figure in young Otis' stead? There's no reason to deny that request, though, but the belief that the identity of the individual will not be revealed regardless of the choice we make in this scenario. Woohoo! Don Quixote's just as passionate as ever, huh? But Faust's expression maintains its stony coldness, highlighting the contrast. It seems she was deep in contemplation. So I sought to ask, something in your mind, Faust? If the scenario hypothesis is correct, then perhaps the conclusion we have seen just may be a hint of sorts. A hint? Perhaps the overt contrivance of this conclusion implies a tacit threat or a warning, posed against us that the tale may be forced to continue regardless of our own actions. There may be an incident in the future when LCB's journey comes to an untimely halt due to our failure to find the conclusion in the Walpurgisnacht event. It appears the access to that information is still locked. I'm having trouble following your train of thought. It is all right. When the time comes, Dante, it may be the case that your intuition will bring proof to these hypotheses, as it has today. Yeah. However, it seems that verifying Don Quixote's hypothesis takes precedence for the moment. Majestra, prithee, move with haste now! Haste, I say! Can we just have a sec for you? Watching Don Quixote's enthusiasm, I decided to table the more complicated thoughts for later like I always do. Faust is right. It might do as well for me to have some more faith in my own intuitions for now. That would be Argalia, the Blue Reverberation. That was his name. Was obviously a color fixer. An information specialist. Is Argalia, of course, the main antagonist of Ruina. Interesting character, him. I don't want to go into too much detail. I do have part of a playthrough on it. I might eventually go back to Library of Ruina if I can figure out how to get Library of Babel, the difficulty mod for it, to be less brutal, or how you don't understand it, but that's for me to be concerned about. Regardless, next time we should be reaching our LCB regular checkup. But until then, see you guys later.